The Beatles are undisputedly one of the biggest influences on music ever, but does this stretch out to other media? Well, come take a trip down the long and winding road as we find the top 5 Beatles references in gaming. And no, the Beatles rock band is a bit too unsubtle, as is Sir Paul McCartney singing in Destiny. Let it be, let it be. The hair became the group's key iconography, and whilst there is numerous characters in gaming with mop tops, none of them have any connection by name to the Beatles, except Beetle. He's obsessed with Beetles, the insect, and the origin of the music group the Beatles came from an original band named the Silver Beatles. And what can you earn in a ship shop? A silver membership. Alright, no, stop, that's all too much. I might as well sell that joke to Beetle, as he'll pay top rupees for your junk. Bit of a questionable lexical choice on junk there, but he's certainly no Lennon McCartney when it comes to his way with words. Whilst he doesn't live in a yellow submarine, his shop's reliability won't let you down, nor will his undeniable gratitude.
Thank you!
Ah, you're welcome.
Oh!
Sorry Beetle, I don't need a bait bag. For number 4, there are many subtle connections between Star Fox and the Fab Four. First off, there's 4 of them. The fact that they've both had popular titles with the number 64 at the end. And the lead protagonist's surnames both start with Merc. Well, it depends if Paul's your favourite Beatle or not. Which mine is. The clear, most obvious, purposeful choice by the Star Fox developers is the task-giving hound who was once a sergeant, General Pepper. A reference to the best Beatles album in my opinion, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Longtime leader of the Cornerian army, General Pepper enlists the Star Fox team to defeat the evil scheming Andros. Just look at those suspicious hands. He used to command Fox's father, James, which is actually the same first name of Paul McCartney. James is also the name of McCartney's only son. And here comes the son. I had to put a picture of him on screen, just for that joke. General Pepper most closely resembles the Red Guard of George Harrison on the cover, though over the years has lost his similar features to the jacket, but his peaceful position and name still remain. Shame his voice actor isn't British though. It's also important to note that on Sgt. Pepper there is a track called A Day in the Life, which features a high frequency 15 kHz tone that only dogs can hear at the end. And General Pepper is a dog, with huge ears. I'm sure he could hear it. I'd play the sound as you can't hear it as a human, but even then I'm scared of copyright strikes. Do people copyright dog whistles? Is that a thing? While there may be 4 Liverpudlian dung Beatles speaking in Conker's Bad Fur Day, the more concrete reference, albeit a free piece, lies at the start of the game with the band The Weasels, hinting at their species' later evil role in the game with their secretive men in black suits and shade attire that indeed the Fab Four on occasion have worn. The Weasels play at the Cock and Plucker Inn, and there's no references there. But hey, at least they have a drummer. And a bassist, kind of. A clarinet there is totally off. The Beatles would use an orchestra or session musicians for such niche instruments like that. And we all know the best clarinet player in gaming is Squidward anyway, so it's easy to put this reference down. But this half-rhyme animal related band reference is made by British developers, Rareware, on a British band, which makes the reference all the more sweeter for me at number 3. Gaming on computers, Fable 3 and Fallout New Vegas have both mentioned the Beatles song Day Tripper, and even Left 4 Dead 2 got in with the game with my favourite song off Sgt. Pepper with a little help from my friends, twisting it on the spitter enemy in that game. I was almost going to do a segment on that, and then I remembered, back in my childhood I played a flash game with a Beatle playable in it, and I didn't even know it at the time. Here we have TARDIS Tennis, a Doctor Who and BBC Sport crossover where the playable characters are noble British figures from the past 500 years, playing tennis at Wimbledon. There's 4 playable characters: Queen Victoria, poet William Shakespeare, Prime Minister Winston Churchill, who's the final boss, and the Beatles' very own John Lennon. But everyone has nicknames in this game, and he's called John Legend, and he's another guy nowadays. Lennon particularly stands out as what's his tennis racket? Only his guitar. Imagine the strength needed for that. I remember playing against my sister as a kid, and I'd always choose John. I didn't even know who he really was, but I found him funny with his guitar, and he was talking about walruses.
You big walrus.
Little did I know in fact that this dialogue is peppered with many a Beatles reference.
Did you see that, Yoko? I'm playing Paul.
There's a lot of losing dialogue in this game, but that's because I suck at the game.
Behave, will you?
Which is surprising with his morals of all you need is love. Little tennis joke there. And it's not the only tennis joke to do with Beatles songs.
Help! Strawberries and cream for them. It's these rubber soles.
He's also the only player to play in white, like tennis players should, in his white suit as most famously seen on the Abbey Road cover. So nostalgic, playable, and with the sheer amount of subtle references here are reasons to place John Lennon in TARDIS Tennis at number 2. Classy segue. Many know there are countless references to the Beatles in Earthbound, and some even dispute it today if the meanings are deeper, like their long and winding road to Gigas. But countless, I'm going to count them down, judging how strong the reference is and how much I like it, for a number 1 in a number 1. Number 10, residents of Moonside will say hello and goodbye, a reference to the 1967 Magical Mystery Tour's Side 2, Hello Goodbye. Number 9, number 9, number 9. Number 9, one of the members of the Runaway Five mentions Money, That's What I Want, a song sang by the Beatles, but is originally a Barrett Strong song, but still. 8.5 is from its sequel, Motor 3. There's a very familiar enemy named the Gently Weeping Guitar, a reference to the song My Guitar Gently Weeps, written by George Harrison, accompanying a beating drum and a jealous guy, bass. Not only like in the Beatles, the bassist is often the lead, its fight song also bears resemblance to the final song on Help, Dizzy Miss Lizzy, 6th best bass in gaming for the record. Number 8, there's a sample of the drums from the Sgt. Pepper reprise in the song Megaton Walk. Number 7, Tessie Ride uses the same melody as Strawberry Fields Forever. The first 9 seconds of the Waking Up theme, the birds are also singing the early melody to Good Morning, Good Morning. The track also seems to be called Good Morning from my research, just one. Number 5, with more songs sampling at various pitches, the artists span more than just the Beatles. Cave of the Past, for example, is Deirdre by the Beach Boys, who saw themselves as rivals to the Beatles in the mid-60s. But the Cave of the Present also sounds like All You Need Is Love by the Beatles. Number 4, A Yellow Submarine. Number 3, particularly the chorus of the Sgt. Pepper song When I'm 64 could be sung along perfectly with the Drugstore song. Number 2, in the Japanese version, some default character names are John, Paul, George, and Yoko. Ringo is the name of the dog. Yoko is the name of John Lennon's second wife, who was present with many of the late Beatles recording sessions, and is also featured in the song The Ballad of John and Yoko. Even their official English names are similar, Paula to Paul McCartney, and Jeff, who could be known as Paul in the Japanese version. Jeff itself being the name of what some people, including myself, regard as the fifth Beatle, Jeff Lynne. A collaborator with Harrison, Starr and McCartney's solo work, as well as being in another band with Harrison. He also produced the mid-90s reunion singles Free as a Bird and Real Love. John Lennon also described Jeff Lynne's band, the Electric Light Orchestra, as sons of the Beatles. It's also important to mention that a default favourite food in the Japanese version of Earthbound is honey pie, a song from the White Album. An option for the Japanese Earthbound's favourite thing is love. The abstract noun is the most commonly used lyric in all Beatles songs. It was used 312 times in 42% of their songs, for the record. Number 1, I digressed on such a tenuous link there. Finally, at number 1 for my favourite Beatles reference in Earthbound and gaming, as well as my favourite pun in gaming, is the pop quiz house from Onet. When knocking, the resident asks, "Pop quiz, name a famous Beatles song." And depending on how aware you are of the band, you are left with 2 options, yes and no. The genius of this reference is that often in RPG dialogue you want a button mash, especially with these yes-no options. Yes is just easy to do. You don't have to press the direction and then the A button to confirm. So, you don't. And it's right, choosing no is more worth it for the gag of no today though in terms of references, but you realise that yes is part of yesterday. You know, like the most popular pop song of all time or one of the most covered songs of all time. Yesterday also cracks my top 5 Beatles songs to further sweeten this house as my favourite Beatles reference in gaming. Thanks for watching my top 5 Beatles references in gaming. It's a shame I couldn't mention how Earthbound's Japanese name came from a John Lennon song that made Itoy cry, but I was not taking into account Beatles solo songs for the list. If you'd like to see another gaming countdown where I mention the Beatles, check out Challenges Approaching's top 5 Kirby copy abilities, where Kirby crosses with Beetle. Or alternatively, you can watch my last countdown with the top 5 bosses I didn't want to kill. More frequent uploads from me, but I've got to admit, it's getting better, a little better all the time. Honourable mention to the GTA franchise from their very own Sgt. Pepper, and streets named after each Beatle. Shame I can't find them for footage. Guess I'll have to talk about GTA in my next countdown.